Hey everybody, and welcome to Backseat Sports. I'm Josh and that is Caleb, and we are back with our video, guys. And man, Nebraska versus Michigan State was quite the game, man. Exciting for Nebraska, winning the game 9-6. Man, it seemed like a pretty fun game to be at.
Yeah, for sure. My voice is still recovering, so if it sounds a little hoarse, that's why. Yelled a lot. The student section went absolutely insane on the Antonio Reed strip sack of Lombardi. It was a mosh pit of insanity. The snow, the cold, couldn't keep over 88,000 people out of the stadium. It was great to see it packed out and just super loud during the game. The Lombardi actually said about the Nebraska fans when he was talking in the post game, he said this is the loudest place to play in the whole Big Ten and one of the best places to play in the country. And when you have that going against you, plus the weather, he said it's just really tough. This is a 3-7 Nebraska team against the Michigan State team, and to get out and get the victory, and for all the fans who are at the game and to make that big of an impact is awesome to hear.
No, for sure. And I think probably the weather is the biggest storyline in the game, where Nebraska was really limited, especially offensively, in what they could do. Obviously, it affects both teams, but with how the game's going to go and playing into the strength of Michigan State, this wind and the weather really forced Nebraska to have to run the ball on and stay on the ground against the best rushing defense in the country. And when I'm 100% certain that we'd have probably had to take some shots downfield and throw this ball a lot more, and I'm sure that's what Scott Frost wanted to do if the game wasn't with such bad weather. Not to mention that we lost J.D. Spielman before the game. He was ruled out game day, and obviously taking a playmaker like that out of the offense has a huge impact. And I mean, Nebraska could have had a pretty big day offensively, I think, and it was poised to probably move the ball pretty well if it wasn't for the wind and for losing J.D. Spielman on game day.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're running straight into their teeth, best in the country at running, and, they allowed over, 220 yards passing the ball, and so there was a lot of room, and that's where a lot of teams were winning the games against them. And, and that's our strength probably as a team, I mean, Adrian Martinez is great on his feet, and our running backs have been stellar, but with the weapons of Stanley Morgan and J.D. Spielman, that's usually our bread and butter of the Nebraska offense this year. To have that taken away was tough. In that first quarter when we were into the wind, and also that third quarter, it was really tough for us to move the ball.
He couldn't even complete a screen pass.
No, I mean, on his first throw he just threw it normal, and the ball sailed.
It was scary.
It was crazy. Yeah, and from then on he had to start throwing bullets.
Martinez and Frost both talked about that in their pressers on Monday, and it was a tough situation for Nebraska to have to play into Michigan State's strength. I mean, we've kind of emphasized that already, but nonetheless, the offense was able to move the ball. Garrett Pickering making the plays for the team, getting 3 field goals and a big 47-yarder to put us up, and man, that was an awesome stuff from Pickering to give us the game and score the points for the win.
Yeah, I mean, hats off to him. He had a really rocky start. A lot of kickers going into it, though. Somebody threw up a nice stat of Drew Brown and Barrett Pickering Drew Brown his freshman year was like 9 of 15 on field goals. Very similar. He ends up being a great kicker, but it's just tough transitioning to college. It takes a lot of confidence. It's a lot different. Games, do have a lot more pressure on them, especially when it comes down to being on the line. So great on him for kind of overcoming adversity like the rest of the team to make 3 big kicks that we all were crucial and that we needed to win the game, and to just drill them. That was awesome to see. I think the biggest part of our team, though, the reason we won is definitely our defense, which is crazy to say, but our defense had some great moments in the game. Yeah, woo! Antonio Reed, 2 forced fumbles. Obviously, I said the crowd just went absolutely insane when we were down 3-6, and he gets that one on like the 20-yard line. And we recover the ball. The crowd just goes insane.
Antonio Reed had 3 of our 7 tackles for loss. So they just were forgetting to block him, and man, he let him run free, and he took advantage of those free opportunities.
Yeah, and Trey Neal, the fourth quarter was also just great pass breakups, tackles, just big plays. It was so exciting to see our defense finally play well, and defense really stepped up. They played their best game of the season. Really exciting. It was nice to watch an old-fashioned smash mouth football Nebraska game, just in the snow. All the fans there against a good smash mouth football to Michigan State. It was great seeing that our team came out, and played tougher than one of the toughest teams in the country. So to get a tough win in in a weather-ridden environment like that was just awesome.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I think, again, another big game where Nebraska took strides as a team. They had a new experience in weather that a lot of these guys had never seen. And obviously, I think it was positives all around the field, even offensively where we struggled and we weren't very efficient. Still had over 100 yards rushing as a team, which is, I mean, against Michigan State's good for their standard. And, I mean, Ozigbo still averaged over 4 yards a carry. Maurice Washington had 6 yards to carry on me. He only had 3 carries.
That jump.
Yeah, the jump. He jumped over Mount Everest on that play.
The moon.
It's so nice. So nice, yeah. I've seen him been jumping over a lot of things this week. And he's been all over the place on the internet. But awesome stuff from those guys. And, again, a lot of positives from Nebraska to take away from this game. We can win in the cold weather. And we're probably going to be playing in the cold weather again this week against the Iowa Hawkeyes. Battle of the Cornfields, Nebraska versus Iowa on Friday, on Black Friday. It's going to be a good one. And, I mean, right off the rip, Iowa's favored by 10 points right now, depending on where you're looking, obviously. A little bit less if you're looking at some other places. But about 10-point spread right now. And it's going to be an uphill battle for the Huskers to win this game.
Yeah, ESPN only gives us a 14% chance to win this game. Kind of half of what they gave us against Michigan State. So they're favored they're favored very heavily, and a lot of good reasons for that. Iowa just came off a 63-0 just stomping of Illinois this last week.
It was a stomp.
I don't know what Illinois did, but whatever they did, it wasn't good because Iowa played with some aggression against Illinois. They did a lot of good things. You know, obviously being able to stop AJ Bush for them, that poses some really interesting things for us. Is, you know, will they be able to stop somebody like Martinez with a mobile quarterback? A lot of really interesting things there. And on the offense, they have 2 really, really solid tight ends in TJ Hawkinson and Noah Fant. So, and Nebraska hasn't done a great job this year at all of defending the tight end.
And the thing about Iowa's tight ends is that they're like big play tight ends. They're not like short yardage check down guys.
Yeah.
They're guys that run routes downfield, and that happened against Illinois. They had some huge plays against Illinois. And that was
both of them had 37-yard touchdowns.
Well, yeah, exactly. And that was a big reason for Iowa to be able to rip Illinois open like they did and create that type of game, which is, I mean, seeing a 63-0 game in the Big Ten is shocking in itself, regardless of who it is. And for it to be Iowa versus Illinois was, I mean, beyond shocking. And Bush, obviously Illinois, AJ Bush had a rough game. He was 12 for 28 passing, 2.9 yard average per attempt, which is just absolutely horrible, a 6.2 QBR. So, I mean, Iowa did everything they had to do against Illinois and more. And Illinois had a horrible game. How Iowa wins games, it's very similar to Michigan State, very similar to Wisconsin, kind of a combination of those type of teams. They dominate the line of scrimmage, and they run the ball, and then they take their shots downfield when they feel like they have the right opportunity. And in games where that's working, they can absolutely dominate in a game like this against Illinois, but then they can struggle. And they've had some tough games this year. They basically beat the teams that they should have beat for the most part, and then lost the teams that they should lose to. So they lost to Wisconsin earlier in the year, and then they lost to Penn State a few weeks ago. The only true upset they really had was against Northwestern 2 weeks ago. They lost to Northwestern at home 14-10. So it's not like they're unbeatable at home or anything. They literally just lost to a team at home 2 weeks ago. If we can follow that type of blueprint, we should be able to have a shot in this game. And I mean, I'm not ruling Nebraska out.
It's really going to come down to how our linebackers are going to be able to defend those tight ends, and kind of, you know, all those schemes. How's our run defense going to do? That's still Nebraska's weakest point on the defense is we're allowing a lot of rushing yards. Luckily, their quarterback Stanley he's not really a pocket runner at all.
That'll be big for us.
So that's good. So we'll be able to solely focus on, you know, how the running back's going to do in the wide receivers and tight ends. It's going to be really interesting to see going into that. What is going to be our game plan? How are we going to be able to stop those guys? But it's a tough game for Nebraska. Iowa always has us circled on their calendars. This is a game that they like to win for sure. So it's going to come down to how is Nebraska mentally going to walk into this game? Sure. Can we be the tougher team again like we were against Michigan State? Play with that joy and passion outside of Memorial Stadium. Nebraska hasn't won a game outside of Memorial Stadium this year.
In a while. It's been a while.
Yeah. So that's going to be tough without the crowd behind them for their other wins. How are we going to be able to get this one for sure?
One thing I think Nebraska definitely will have going for them is that we should have more motivation to play in this game than Iowa does. I mean, Iowa doesn't have much to play for right now. They're third in the Big Ten West. It's already a clinched division. Nebraska, this is their bowl game, man. This is what we got to play for. This is our last game of the year, and Nebraska's on a roll. 4 of our last 5, only lost to Ohio State. And Nebraska's looking to finish out this season as strong as you really could have possibly expected, and to walk into 2019 with a lot of momentum. And I think the players have to be riding on some of that emotion. And I mean, that is going to be something that Nebraska has going for them going into the game for sure.
So with that being said, I think Nebraska is going to win the game, but it's going to be a very close one. I think I'm going to go with what Gerald Foster said is, I'm so excited to beat Iowa this week, is what he said in the post-game press conference. So they're confident going in, and I definitely love that momentum. You know, the feeling that we can win any game now, that we're right there, and we want to prove ourselves. I think that's a really great mentality to be in for Nebraska. And I think we win 35-38, you know, a 3-point game. It's going to be close. They're going to score some points. I think the tight ends are going to burn us a couple times, and it's going to be a close game.
Yeah, man, I want to pick Nebraska, but I really do think Iowa is a solid team this year, and they've just had a few tough games in the outings where they just kind of lost focus. And I mean, maybe that happens this game, but I don't necessarily see it happening. I mean, the biggest key will be the line of scrimmage, and if Iowa dominates the line of scrimmage, we're not winning the game. It's just not how it's going to be. And then again, forcing Nate Stanley into 3rd and longs. He's not an efficient passer, and he's not a big play type of player most of the time. If we can stay home and, you know, play the fundamental football that we need to play to beat Iowa, that's what's going to have to happen. And blowing coverage on 3rd and 5 off a play action, that's what's going to lose us the game. And that's how Iowa's been so dangerous in the past with those tight ends on 3rd and short play action type of stuff. So with that all said, I don't think Nebraska's going to win this game. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. I'm going to pick us in a real close one, 26-23. I hate every time I pick Nebraska to lose, it sucks. And it really especially sucks picking against Nebraska in an Iowa game. But I just think with the spread and the over-under playing in Iowa, Iowa's a solid team with this line of scrimmage. Big plays is what it's going to come down to. If we can rip off those big plays, if J.D. Spielman's 100% healthy, and we can get the ball outside on the Iowa defense, that'll be the key to the game. Not trying to smash mouth it with Ozigbo. I think this is the type of game where Maurice Washington might be able to rip off a big play or two, or J.D. Spielman on an end around or something like that. Those are the types of plays that are going to win us this game. And it may not be the smash mouth type of football that Nebraska fans want to see, but the spread offense will be the difference in the game for Nebraska if we want to have a chance to win. And hopefully I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Go Big Red. But I do have to pick Iowa winning by 3.
Yeah, so let us know what you guys have to think. Do you think Nebraska's going to pull it off? Do you think Iowa will win yet again in this series?
Seriously,
so,
my goodness.
Seriously, though. So, as always, I'm Caleb. That's Josh. This has been Backseat Sports, and we'll see you next video.
Ohio State, really, the games were pretty close throughout both games. I mean, last week was a really tough game for Michigan State. They played horrible offensively. They were absolutely tragic. My word, it was bad. Their QB situation is completely up for debate right now. And